Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was in Star Wars. Revan and Naruto, immortal beings, return to the Republic as it heads towards war once again. What events will these two alter? Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 29. Naboo Space. Look at the size of that. Obi-Wan said as the Queen's cruiser was given clearance in a landing bay. That is a very old ship. The pilot said. Yes, but Revan has help for us, it's better than nothing in handing the Queen over without a fight. Qui-Gon Jinn said as he looked at the ship they were docking in. Once the boarding ramp was lowered, they were greeted by the Namikaze and a man in armor. Your Majesty, allow me to introduce you to Mandalore, the leader of his people, who have agreed to fight this battle. Mandalore, may I present Her Royal Highness, the Queen of the Naboo. Both leaders gave nods of their heads to one another. Revan grinned at Qui-Gon. So, what have you done? She asked, and the other Jedi Master gave her a look. Sorry, she said with a grin which faded. Excuse me, she said and hurried off. Naruto shook his head. She says she never gets sick, but the last couple of days. He shook his head. Staying out of trouble, Ben? He asked his friend. I'm not you. Obi-Wan returned with a smile. Yeah, but does the handmaiden know that you're a goody-goody? Obi-Wan blushed and looked at the group of handmaidens that had their hoods up and were arrayed around the Queen. Stop it, Obi-Wan hissed. Jedi does not mean celibate, Naruto said with a grin, getting a blush from his friend. We're heading to the war room, Mandalore said to Naruto, who nodded. I'll check on Revan and meet you there. Naruto left the group in the care of the Mandalore and headed to the Falcon, and he found his wife once more exiting the fresher. Throwing up again? He asked, and she nodded weakly. I don't get it. I've never been sick like his before. I mean, yeah, I've had the 24-hour bug, but nothing has lasted this long. Revan said, accepting the towel and wiping her face off after splashing it with water. Maybe we should have the Mandalorian's doctor check you over, Naruto said in concern. I'm fine. We've got a battle win and a planet to liberate. Where is everyone? Revan said as they left the Falcon. War room. Mandalore wants the Queen's opinion on where he should set his forces down. Revan nodded as they walked. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan will need to stay with the Queen. I should be there, Naruto said. You've had a vision? She asked. They entered the war room and listened as Mandalore suggested dropping his troops on the fields outside of Theed as the Queen wanted to avoid damage to the city. Meanwhile, my fighters in this ship will engage the droid control ship. The Queen thought about it, and Revan saw Padme nod to the Queen. Very well. We'll send our own pilots out once they are freed, the Queen said in her cold manner. We shall stay with Her Majesty, Qui-Gon said. Revan looked at Naruto. Naruto will go with them as an added bodyguard. I shall be with the ground troops on the fields. Mandalore's helmeted head swung towards her. You want to lead them? I can command our fighters from the dawn and give those tin cans a beating with our vessel. Revan nodded. Mandalore looked at the assembled commanders. Jango shall lead our fighter squadron. Montrose, you shall be Revan's number 2. The rust-red armored warrior nodded. Naruto scratched his head. I'll meet you on the surface. Why? Revan asked. I might have an idea, I need to see if I can find him. Revan looked at her husband. Who? Bob. Revan looked at her husband. I'm going to regret this, but take HK with you. And be careful. Naruto smiled and gave her a quick kiss. Hey, it's me. That's what we're afraid of. Obi-Wan's mutter was heard, and the others that knew Naruto gave a chuckle. May the force be with us. Revan muttered as she watched her husband go, her gut clenched, and it wasn't from nausea. Naboo Swamp. Naruto didn't have a hard time finding Bob. Master, what do we need this inferior droid for? HK demanded, seeing what Naruto was looking for. Bob here is the key to getting into the palace and capturing the viceroy, he said, working on rewiring the droid. Nothing beats a tri-barrel assault rifle with a grenade launcher, flamethrower, and a high-powered targeting scope. HK muttered, and Naruto swore the droid was jealous. The sooner I finish this, the quicker we can join the others. Once I get to the palace, I want you to find Revan and make sure she gets through the battle unharmed. In other words, seek and destroy all the Trade Federation droids you come across. Naruto bet that if his metal face had been able, HK would be grinning something that would put a Lee and Guy Toothy grin to shame. Glorious. Feed Palace. Where is Naruto? Obi-Wan muttered. The Mandalorians are going to start their assault soon. The squad of armored warriors with them were checking their weapons a final time. Relax. Naruto will join us in time, Kagan said, his eyes were half closed. In fact, he's here. Obi-Wan, who was next to Padme, looked to see Naruto leaping from the rooftop with a battle droid on his back. He landed next to a Mandalorian and grinned. Sorry, traffic was ugly. Where's your other droid? Captain Panika asked. Making his way to Revan as we speak. This is Bob, he said to the others, indicating the deactivated droid. And what can he do? Naruto smirked as he looked at R2. Well, I'm sure R2 can crack any code. What better distraction than to send in one of their own? He activated the droid and sent it on its way. It'll be in position to get you into the throne room, he said as they watched it march off. While we free the pilots and get them to the fighters. Naruto pulled out 2 lightsabers. Ready? Obi-Wan and Kagan nodded, pulling theirs. The Mandalorians confirmed they were ready, and the Queen, her handmaidens, and guards were. Do it, Naruto said, and a pair of Mandalorian shock troops with shoulder launchers fired a pair of anti-tank rockets into the square. The tanks and destroyer droids caught in the explosion never knew what hit them. Go, Naruto said, and leapt into the fray, his pearl-white lightsaber matched only by the neon-orange blade in his left hand. Between laser fire and lightsabers, the droids were destroyed in a short amount of time, and the party headed for the hangar. One of the Mando troopers peered around the corner. Normal tin cans, sir. Let's go. Planes near Theed. Revan looked at Montrose. Well, they took the bait, she said as the droid troop carriers appeared. Lots of scrap metal, the bigger man said. Revan thumbed the comm link. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Montrose looked over his shoulder. Hukadir, he called, and the gathered warriors armed their shields. The shield generator went up, and Revan smiled even as the droids were being unloaded, which made her think of egg containers. Shaking her head. Darajuum Parger, she said in Mandoe. Montrose nodded. Forever to be victorious to you as well, Revan. Let us show these walking scrappers what Mandalorians are made of, Revan called out. The droid tanks fired, but their shots were absorbed by the shields. Revan didn't have to tell the warriors around her to be steady. They were the greatest fighting force ever assembled, and she knew that every warrior with her was worth 100 droids. Her comm link chirped. Busy, she said into it. Mistress, I am approaching from your 6. HK's voice came over the comm link. Why aren't you with Naruto? She asked. Master said I would be better served with you. Revan grumbled and passed the word for the troops in the rear to allow HK through. Montrose chuckled, and she heard his muttered mother hen comment about her husband. I've fought battles and wars long before he was born. I can care for myself. Revan muttered, her eyes studying the droids and how they tried a mass bombardment to break the shields, but they had no effect. She watched the battle droids line up and saw they were going to walk in. Here they come. Be safe, my love, she sent along the bond. She got a feeling of love back. Naboo space. Getting the phrase from Revan, Jaster smirked. All fighters launch. Gunners, lock onto that ship, prepare for a broadside. Jaster wanted to be in the cockpit or on the ground, but he knew his place was needed here. As the Z-95 headhunters launched, he silently wished his son to be safe. Good hunting, he said aloud. All fighters are launched. The weapons officer said. Raise the shields. All hands, battle stations. Jaster said, putting on his helmet. IB Tor Jantor Ashad Kyr Amor. Mandalore said, and it was echoed across the bridge. The sentiment was, today is a good day for some other bugger to die. Chapter 30. Naboo space. Jango looked over his scope. All wings report in. Once they were clear of the Mandalorian dawn. As the roll call came in, he nodded. Activate deflector shields. He studied the information, and if things went right, then soon Naboo star fighters would join them in the assault of the droid control ship. They'd better get here, or this will be the shortest offensive ever. Jango thought as they were waiting out of sensor range for the ships to show up. Planes near Theed. Light 'em up. Revan ordered as the first droid walked into the shield. She looked at Montrose. Note, next time add an ion charge to the shield. The rust-red armored head nodded. Mistress? HK asked for confirmation. Wait for it. Revan said, her hands on her lightsaber hilts. Here comes the pain. She said as the first row of battle droids were now past the shield and were opening fire. Snap hiss. Her lightsabers came to life, deflecting shots back, while the Mandalorians allowed their personal shields to absorb the first shots. Tracin. Revan ordered, and the Mandalorians opened fire as the battle droids kept coming. She smiled as the droids came closer. She saw HK in the thick of it, his assault rifle taking out target after target, and she shook her head as her own droid threw insults at the pathetic droids along with more words. Really need to check his processor. She thought, deflecting several shots, and once the droids were close, she used the Force. A cyclone whipped the droids around and sent them flying back into the droid army, destroying more. Her attention was drawn, and she saw the target of the attack. Montrose. Protect the shield generator. She yelled as she flipped high in the air and used the Force as she came down in a shockwave move, destroying a lot of battle droids, but that didn't matter as there were more coming. Revan knew that once the shield went down, then the tanks on the ridge by the transports would once again open fire. Her lightsabers slid around and one was in a reverse grip as she continued to weave in and out amidst the droids while the Mandalorians continued picking them apart with blaster fire. Some had drawn vibroswords, other weapons, and waded into the battle. I hope Naruto is having a better time of this. She thought as her purple blade deflected a blaster back at a droid, taking its head off. Palace hangar. Naruto swore at the amount of droids in the hangar watching the prisoners. You'd think they'd be locked up or in a detention center. He shook his head as the droids had the pilots and deck crews clustered in a corner of the hangar. Well, the electric fence is, I suppose, barrier. But even a first-year genin could get around it. Pitiful. Naruto's attack wiped out the 9 battle droids. How do you do that? Obi-Wan asked as the air seemed to slice the droids to pieces. It's my element. Many ninjas can manipulate elements, some master a specific one. Wind is mine. Naruto said, his lightsaber decapitated a battle droid as Kagan kept near the Queen and Padme. Naruto shook at this, but watched as Obi-Wan deactivated the barrier holding the pilots. Get to your fighters and join up with the Mandalorians in orbit to take out the control ship. The Padawan ordered, and Naruto rejoined the others as the pilots began taking off. Hope they're as good as you say, Your Highness, he said. The Queen said nothing. Padme answered with, They are some of the best pilots out amongst the Outer Rim. Naruto nodded as they approached the massive doors that would lead them into the bowels of the palace. Before they got there, they began to cycle open. Naruto stopped and held a hand up for the others to do the same. A lone figure stood there with his hood up. Revan called him a Zabrak. Well, looks like our Sith is looking for a fight. Naruto looked at Kagan, his blue eyes asking the unspoken question. Before they could move, another figure appeared. Boy. Naruto sighed and looked at the pale-skinned bounty hunter that had gotten away from him on Tatooine. Aurra Sing. Twice in a lifetime. Naruto said with a grin. He shot a look at Kagan. You two take Horn Head, I'll deal with the bounty hunter. The Jedi Master nodded and Padme looked at the Queen. We'll take the long way around. The handmaiden and the Queen and soldiers took off for the right, leaving the five to face off. Whatever he's paying you won't be enough, Naruto said, shrugging his robe off, as did the Sith and the two Jedi. The Zabrak took up a stance with the hilt of his lightsaber presented before him and activated it, revealing twin red blades of his double-bladed lightsaber. He seemed disappointed that the Jedi weren't shocked or impressed, but remained quiet. Aurra shook her head. It's not about the money. It's that you got in my way. Doesn't matter. Maul here offered me a moon, I told him I would do this for free. She smirked. I will take it out on you, and your droid isn't here to save you this time. I didn't need him last time. You're such a lousy shot that Aurra opened fire and Naruto's lightsaber came to life, deflecting the shot. The pearl-white blade hummed as Naruto spun it about. Now that just wasn't nice. At the same time that Aurra and Naruto began, Maul and the Jedi fought, their lightsabers a whirling dervish of movement of slashes, parries, thrusts and blocks in sheer avoidance. Master and Padawan fought together as a well-oiled machine, one would defend or attack. Maul spun and used moves that Obi-Wan had seen both Revan and Naruto use in their spars. Kicks and punches. He realized how limited the Jedi had become in their motions. We've become predictable. Obi-Wan thought as his blue blade blocked a red one, and his master came at Maul as he had been called by Sing, spun and blocked his master's green-bladed lightsaber. Even 2-on-1, he understands our attacks. Obi-Wan thought about all Naruto had talked about one time while they spared. Shaking his head, he vowed that when they got out of this, he would talk with his master about learning from Revan and Naruto, and have him bring it up to the council. Space. Jango looked at his screen and smirked behind his helm. Here come the Naboo. Light the way, he said as he moved his own fighter in as they saw the droid ship come alive with launching of the Vulture droid fighters. His fellow Mandalorians moved in from the opposite side of the moon, and he smirked at the fact that they had the droid control ship in a pincer attack. Just thousands of those damn droids, he thought, triggering his lasers and smirking as a Vulture droid exploded. All around him his fellow warriors took out targets, and they buzzed past the Naboo starfighters. Welcome to the party, hope you brought some favors, Jango said in greeting. We've got some, one of the pilots retorted, and the yellow craft joined the space battle as explosions filled the space above Naboo. While the fighters were engaged, the Mandalorian Dawn moved in and used its long-range cannons to let the droid control ship that it wasn't sitting idle. On the bridge of the Dawn, Jaster Mariel smirked behind his helm. Once more into the breach, he said softly, as the turbo laser cannons lit up the droid ship's shields. Palace hangar. Naruto leapt high as Aurra used a pair of light repeating blasters to send a hail of red death at him. He avoided much, and what he didn't he redirected with his lightsaber. He could see her getting pissed more and more as her blaster shots didn't connect, and Revan told him for a bounty hunter that was important as they worked hard to get where they were, and Naruto was a glitch. I was expecting her, not so soon or here, but I figured after the Sand Rock that's a planet she would come for me. the blonde thought as he used his lightsaber to block and redirect several shots back at Aura. Naruto leapt high into the air, flipped and used chakra to stick to the ceiling. He wagged his lightsaber back and forth blocking shot after shot and laughed outright as Sing yelled at him to come down and fight properly. He looked around and saw the way Obi-Wan and Kagan went, knowing he had to hurry and finish this. His gut was telling him that something was about to go wrong, and he needed to be there. And in his over a century of life, Naruto learned to never ignore his gut. Revan said it was the Force speaking to him, and he didn't argue with his wife about that, as she was his wife, his teacher, his master, and if he knew one thing, it was that pissing any version of meant trouble for him. "Here I come," he said to Sing. He held his lightsaber in his left hand in a reverse grip, using it to block more blaster shots, while his right hand he formed the Rasengan. "Sorry, I don't have time to play with you," he said. Leapt straight down at her, blaster bolts flowing around him as he descended like a bird of prey, and she was the mouse. Chapter 31. Planes. Revan smirked as she recalled her lightsaber from where she'd thrown it and decapitated several battle droids to and from her hand. Her other blade she was using to deflect blaster fire back. "Montrose!" she yelled. "Do it." Before the battle the Mandalorians had planted explosives, and the droids didn't bother scanning for them. It worked in their favor as the big warrior pushed a button on his gauntlet. At the shield line hundreds of tubes popped from the ground and ended up chest height before detonating. Gotta love bouncing frags," Revan said, ducking behind a Mandalorian with a shield as the droids were ripped to shreds. "You truly are something on the battlefield, Revan," Montrose said, impressed with the way the woman had directed the battle. If this is the woman that defeated the clans and bested Mandalore in one-on-one combat, she would truly be the rightful leader of the clans, he thought. Perhaps young Jango is right. She would make one hell of a mate. Revan was back in battle once more, lightsabers swinging, droids being destroyed. From his position, -47 Hong Kong dollars MKII was using the assault rifle, and mowing down even more that might have gotten close to its mistress. All around the field Mandalorian warriors were in combat, either with blasters or blades. "Protect the shield generator at all costs," Montrose ordered. He'd be damned if he allowed the droid battle tanks to pound them with artillery from a distance. "Sir," Jaga, one of the warriors near him, said. "Look." At the top of the hill, he saw strange creatures coming from the swamp and attacking the tanks. "What the hell are those?" Montrose asked. Revan paused and looked. "Gungans. They're native swamp and water dwellers. Guess they're on our side." She blocked more blaster fire and fell back to the safety of the shields. "General," one said, and she paused. It had been a long time since anyone had called her that title. "What is it?" she asked. "Report from the palace. General Namakase has been engaged by a bounty hunter named Aura Singh while the Jedi have engaged the Sith." Revan scowled. "The Queen and her party are heading up via alternate means as the corridors are chocked with battle droids and destroyer droids." Revan nodded. "Continue monitoring the situation." "What of the space battle?" The Mandalorian that was acting as communications officer listened in for a moment. "Jango and his fighters have engaged the Vulture droids with the Naboo. The Mandalorian Dream has engaged the droid control ship, but its shields are withstanding the bombardment thus far." Revan nodded. "Montrose." The warrior came over. "We need to finish this. The Gungans are an annoyance and they're only delaying the tanks. You want a detachment to go to their aid? One squad with jetpacks," she said. "We can't spare more for them. They entered this on their own gumption." Montrose nodded and sent word for a volunteer squad. Revan sighed as she looked on over the battle. Business is good, she thought, ignoring the queasy feeling in her gut. Space. Jango spun his fighter along the surface of the droid control ship trying to shake the Vulture droid fighters. He saw the Dream open another barrage on the far side of the ship and knew to avoid that if he didn't want to visit his ancestors too soon. A pair of Naboo sliced between him and the droids, destroying them as they passed. "Nice shot," he said. "You're welcome," came the voice of the Naboo pilot. "So how many of these do we have to destroy?" "All of them," Jango said in a deadpan voice. "Oh. Is that all?" the Naboo pilot joked. "I thought it was something hard." Jango smirked behind his visor. "That's the fighting on the ground." More droid fighters were launched and Jango hoped his adoptive father would get the shields down and destroy the ship. Starfighters sped through space, lighting it up with lasers and explosions. The Mandalorians and Naboo were good, but the droids had the numbers. Palace hangar. Naruto impacted with the hangar floor as Singh barely managed to leap away as the Rasengan tore up a large section of the floor. "Nice," he said. "What the hell was that?" Aura demanded. "That isn't anything a Jedi has ever used." "No, it's not. It's something my father created," Naruto said with a fox-like grin. "You've got good reflexes," Naruto said as he dodged the blaster fire or blocked it with his lightsaber. Aura was getting pissed. "This blonde doofus is making a mockery of everything I do. I must kill him." Naruto was smiling, it had been a while since he'd had this much fun. "I hope Ben and Kagan are having some luck with the Sith." The Jedi weren't having as an easy a time as Naruto hoped. The Sith warrior that Singh had identified as Maul was very skilled with his double-bladed lightsaber. He was blocking their attacks and managed to use kicks to send Obi-Wan off a crosswalk. The Padawan landed hard and looked on as his master was fighting the Sith alone. His green lightsaber was a blur of motion and despite his age, he was giving the younger warrior a run. Obi-Wan cursed and used the Force to leap back up. He was a bit away and used the Force to enhance his speed to try and catch up with the pair as they entered a narrow corridor. He felt the warning in the 4 seconds before he saw ray shields come to life and section off the corridor. He managed to slide to a stop and saw his master kneel and take the time to meditate and catch his breath. He saw the Zabrak slam his lightsaber into the barrier and snarl before shutting it off and pace back and forth like a caged animal. Obi-Wan shut his own off and kept his eyes ahead, ready to race ahead and rejoin his master. "We're being led. He's got a plan with this," Obi-Wan thought, and he felt the pouch Naruto had given him. Flashback. "Hey, Ben," Naruto called before they left the ship. "What is it?" Obi-Wan asked. Naruto handed him a pouch. Looking inside, he saw a strange tri-bladed weapon. "It's a tri-pronged kunai," Naruto said, seeing his friend's look. "My father created them a long time ago." "That's nice, but I'm not sure I'm the right person to give this to." "Why not Revan?" Obi-Wan asked. "Revan has one. Listen, it's not a weapon for you to use. But if you need help, throw it. I'll be there as fast as possible." Naruto paused. "As long as I'm on the planet," he said, giving Obi-Wan one of his fox-like grins and scratched the back of his head. End flashback. What did he mean by that? Obi-Wan thought. Naruto hadn't really explained it, but he trusted his friend and had kept the strange kunai close. His hand hovered over the handle but moved it away. "We can beat him on our own," Obi-Wan thought. Deeper in the palace, Padme, the handmaidens, and the Queen's guards kept the droids busy, while the Queen with a squad of Mandalorians slipped into a secret passage. Padme looked at Captain Panaka. "We need a different way." The man nodded. "Blow out the windows," he ordered, and the troops with him blasted the windows across the hall. Padme nodded and using covering fire leapt across the hall and out the window. A dozen guards and 2 other handmaidens joined her on the ledge, while the rest would continue to draw fire in the corridor. Grapples! Panika ordered, and they attached the launcher to their blasters and shot the grapples and lines up, and they began the ascension to the upper floor. Once they reached the ledge, they stood on either side while 2 of the guards applied explosives and blew the window open. Panika and the guards went first, followed by Padme and the 2 handmaidens. They could hear the pitched battle below and crept along the corridor. The sound of rolling had them turn to see destroyer droids, and 1 battle droid stepped forward. Padme raised her hands and nodded for the others to surrender. She saw the spiral-like design on the droid's chest and the orange marking and knew this was Naruto's corrupted battle droid. I hope his idea works, she thought. Chapter 32. Space. The Mandalorian Dream's turbo lasers rained destruction against the shields of the droid control ship, thus far unable to penetrate them. In the cockpit of his starfighter, Jango cursed in Galactic Basic and Mandalorian as he weaved his ship between the ships, hoping to lose the Vulture droid ships he'd picked up. The turbo laser crews must have spotted him as their fire intensified behind him, and the Vulture droids exploded as Jango's ship shot into the pitched battle with the Naboo fighters and more droid Vulture ships. He thumbed the lasers and hoped that the battle on the ground was going better. Palace hangar. Naruto avoided the grenades and used chakra to leap back to the ceiling. He looked down and Sing was looking up at him, and it was a look Naruto knew well. Oh, she's pissed. He chuckled mentally. And the more she's pissed, the wilder her shots are. Naruto deflected shots with his lightsaber and used the old tried and true method of distraction, pissing off his opponent. So, bounty hunter, you get anyone famous, or do you just feed off the scraps of what the Jedi don't bring in? The barrage of blaster fire had Naruto dancing across the hangar ceiling. Oh, I think I made her mad. Power generator corridor. Obi-Wan felt it before the barriers started shutting down. Already Kagan and the Sith were facing off, and the Sith was backing up more. Blast, I'm not going to make it in time. Obi-Wan thought, and remembering the 3-pronged kunai Naruto gave him, he pulled it and tossed it, figuring some backup was better than none. The blade cleared the barrier before it snapped shut, and Obi-Wan could only watch as Kagan fought the Sith alone. Neither saw the blade hit the wall, and it pulsed once as the seal on it activated. Hangar. Naruto felt it and looked at Sing. Sorry. I'm needed elsewhere. He told her, and before she could say anything he was in front of her and buried a fist in her gut. Then he hit a nerve cluster in her neck. As she passed out, she heard him, "It's been fun, we'll have to play again sometime." And before her eyes closed, he vanished in a yellow flash. Impossible, was Aura Singh thought before unconsciousness claimed her. Power generator room. Kagan was hard-pressed, and he was getting tired as the younger warrior was wearing him down. He wasn't vain in that his age didn't matter. But he called on the Force as it was his ally and used it to support his fading strength and stamina. He saw it a moment too late, and the elbow to his face stunned him, and he watched as if in slow motion as the Sith spun and was about to plant his lightsaber in Qui-Gon's chest. Rasengan. The blade never connected, and Kagan saw the familiar blonde hair, and the Sith warrior was barely able to avoid the attack as he flipped away. "Hey, old man," Naruto said and grinned. Kagan took a deep breath. "Hey, older man." Naruto laughed. "Looks like I got here just in time." Behind the barrier, Obi-Wan was shocked. Naruto had appeared in a yellow flash and saved Kagan. Just what is a ninja? The Padawan thought as he watched Naruto engage the Sith while ordering Kagan to catch his breath. The Jedi Master watched as Naruto pulled a second lightsaber, and the fight was on once again. Both Jedi realizing how skilled Naruto was as he drove Maul back around away from them to the opposite side of the pit that was in the middle of the room. Maul snarled. "I nearly had the old one, then this one appears out of nowhere." Master Sidious was not aware of this one's abilities. Maul found this warrior using both Jedi and Sith fighting styles blended together. Who is this whisker-marked blonde? Maul thought as he was being pushed and his leg was throbbing as the blonde scored a light hit above his knee. Throne room. Ah, Queen Amidala, we meet face to face at last. Newt Gunray said in a false greeting as Padme and her people were ushered in before him. Your little insurrection is at an end, Your Highness. Time for you to sign the treaty and end this pointless debate in the Senate. At the doorway the Queen and her guards appear. Behind them are several destroyed battle droids littering the corridor. I will not be signing any treaty, Viceroy, because you've lost. Newt and his people look stunned to see the second Queen. Newt yells at the 10 guards in the room. After her. This one is a decoy. 8 of the droids hurry out of the throne room after the Queen. Newt turns to Padme. Your Queen will not get away with this. Padme slumps down and sits on the throne. Newt turns and doesn't see Padme hit a security button that opens a panel in the desk opposite Captain Panaka. Padme grabs 2 pistols and tosses one to Captain Panaka and one to an officer. She takes a 3rd pistol and blasts the remaining battle droid. Bob, secure the door. She orders the tampered-with battle droid. Believe it. The droid says, and with several of the guards rush to the door control panel as Padme hits a switch on the throne to close the door. Bob jams the controls at the door, preventing them from being opened outside. Panaka throws other pistols to more guards. The Neimoidians are confused and afraid. Padme on the throne straightens and looks very regal. Now Visero, this is the end of your occupation here. She says in a very chilling voice, and too late the Viceroy realizes that the girl before him is the Queen and the other one was the decoy. Don't be absurd. There are too few of you. It won't be long before hundreds of destroyer droids break in and rescue me. Newt sputters. Power generator room. Naruto was spinning and leaping and Maul was on the defensive. The Zabrak was snarling as the blonde seemed to keep up a constant barrage of chatter as they fought. He lashed out with a kick, but the blonde spun away, and his lightsabers blocked Maul's own blades. Neat trick, want to see one of mine? Naruto asked, and before Maul could comply he was weaving his double-bladed lightsaber in infinity pattern as the blonde was pushing his attack, and Maul blinked as there were suddenly 2 more of the blonde before him, and the original stepped back. Naruto, as the shadow clones kept Maul busy, began to set up for his final attack. 10 lightsabers were held aloft by his wind manipulation, forming a circle around Maul. The 2 clones leapt away and dispersed in a puff of smoke, their lightsabers joining the rest in the air. Maul looked around wondering what was about to happen. He saw the original blonde standing with a pearl-white lightsaber. This is your last chance. Surrender now or die, Naruto said. Maul took up a very aggressive stance. As you wish, Naruto said, and Maul blinked as the blonde vanished in a yellow flash. Off to the side Kagan was joined by Obi-Wan as the barrier opened again. Should we help him, Master? Naruto, or the Sith? Kagan asked with a hint of humor. Obi-Wan paused and watched as Naruto began the attack he developed. In less than a minute the Sith warrior fell into the pit in several pieces. Naruto used the wind jutsu to keep the double-bladed lightsaber from joining its master in the pit. Naruto deactivated the lightsabers, and they poofed back into the seal. He gave Kagan a grin and the master gave him a nod. Space. Jango cursed in Huttese as he spun his fighter away from the explosions, and as he banked he found himself in the hangar of the droid control ship. He flew his fighter down the hangar, and he smirked behind his helmet as he thumbed the laser cannons and watched as droids and fighters went up in flames as he passed. This is what it means to be Mandalorian, he thought. His ship's computer chirped, and he looked at the readout. A power core here? How stupid these clankers are, he said, and had the computer lock on, and he fired 2 torpedoes as he went past. His fighter passed over more droids, and he flew out the opposite hangar as the ship began to erupt around him, informing his shot had been dead on. What the hell? came over the comm. It's blowing up from the inside. Another voice. Jango? Here Mandalore. I am exiting the ship. I passed their barrier and was in a hangar. Jango said. Move your ass, boy, or it's going to fry. Jango laughed as he pushed more power into the ship's engines, and he shot away from the droid control ship as it exploded. He saw that the Mandalorian Dream was moving away, but was still firing on the droid ship. It exploded in a ball of metal and flame. Jango got a message on a private channel and switched over. I am proud of you, my son. Jango smiled but said nothing as the channel was already closed. Plains of Theed. Revan saw the Gungans surrender even as the squad she had Montrose said rained blaster fire down on the tanks. She was slicing across a group of battle droids, so it took her a moment to realize that the droids had shut down. She looked at them and looked at Montrose, then at -47 Hong Kong dollars MKII. Her gaze went to the hill where a Gungan pushed a droid over. Shaking her head, she looked at Montrose. Police the droids, prepare them for transport. General? Montrose asked. Mandalorian salvage rights. Revan said and walked away. Montrose watched her go. What a leader. He said and once more wondered if Jango had the right idea, and how they could make it happen. He turned and gave orders even as Revan and her droid boarded an air speeder and shot away to the palace. Naboo. Several days later. A large grand cruiser sporting the symbol of the Supreme Chancellor lands in the palace courtyard. Captain Panaka and 20 troops guard Newt Gunray and his assistant Rune Haako. Obi-Wan, Kagan and the Namikaze stand with Queen Padme Amidala and her handmaidens. Naruto had laughed his ass off when Obi-Wan learned that Padme was the queen. Padme in a white gown looked at the Neimoidians. Now Viceroy, you are going to have to go back to the Senate and explain all this. Naruto in a false low voice spoke up. I think you can kiss your trade franchise goodbye. Naruto after killing Maul had returned to the hangar and hadn't been too surprised to find Aurra Sing gone. He knew they'd fight again. The main ramp of the cruiser lowers as Obi-Wan and Captain Panaka lead the Viceroy and his assistant toward the ship. The Supreme Chancellor Palpatine and several Republic guards descend the walkway, followed by several Jedi Masters. Mace Windu and Master Yoda amongst them. Chancellor Palpatine is greeted by Queen Padme. Congratulations on your election, Chancellor. She says. It is good to see you again. Palpatine bows slightly. It's good to be home. Your boldness has saved our people, Your Majesty. It is you who should be congratulated. Together we shall bring peace and prosperity to the Republic. Naruto leans over to Revan and whispers, sounds like he's running for re-election already. Oof. The last was his wife planting her elbow in his gut. Behave. She hissed. Obi-Wan and Kagan greet the Jedi Masters. It is then that Revan notices a familiar young boy with Palpatine as Panaka leads the Neimoidians to the ship to be placed in security cells. Anakin? The boy looks at her sadly, and she can feel sorrow and rage rolling off of him. She notices bandages on his arms and around his neck. Revan and Naruto approach him. Mom's dead. He hissed at her. And it's all your fault. Revan blinked as the boy stalked past her and stood behind Palpatine. She looked at the gathered masters. What happened? Mace spoke up as Yoda was getting the report from Kagan. Shortly after you all left there was a fire at the Skywalker apartment. Shmi Skywalker didn't make it out. A citizen nearby broke the door down and got Anakin out. Palpatine took him in, he's made Anakin his aide in training. Revan felt something and looked over her shoulder seeing Palpatine resting a hand on Anakin's shoulder even as he was talking with Padme. We need to speak with the four of you. Mace said getting Revan's attention once more. Where are the warriors that fought the battle? Gone. They did the job. Parades aren't in a Mandalorian's vocabulary. They do the job then get out. They aren't known for staying in one place. Revan said with a smirk. Like someone else I know. Naruto said and got another elbow in the gut from his wife. Yoda approached and paused. He looked at Revan and she could feel him reach out with the force. What? She asked. Yoda frowned and he looked at her closer. Congratulations to you and Naruto I give. The aged master said. The battle was nothing. Revan said with a dismissive wave of her hand. Battle droids are nothing compared to Mandalorian warriors. Battle I not speak of. Nor of Naruto's duel with the bounty hunter or Sith warrior. Speak of child you carry I do. Revan blinked and it took a moment for the words that Master Yoda spoke to register. It didn't take as long with Naruto as he let out a massive whoop. And picked her up around her hips and spun her around. Put me down you Neanderthal. Revan said even as the smile was on her face. Her hands were on her husband's shoulders. Obi-Wan and Kagan looked on. Is that allowed, Master? Kagan smirked. Whether it is or isn't as irrelevant as it is. Obi-Wan looked at his friend and could feel his happiness in the Force. The sun was setting and Naruto and Obi-Wan were kneeling before Yoda while Revan had gone to be checked out by the Queen's physician. Kagan and the other masters stood in a circle around the pair. Confer unto you both the rank of Jedi Knight this council does. Yoda said. Obi-Wan bowed his head as his Padawan braid was cut. Naruto blinked. Whoa, what? I want even a Padawan. Kagan smirked as Yoda made Naruto a knight. Revan's going to be surprised. He thought. But he'd made the recommendation after the evaluation of Naruto's abilities. And Kagan told the masters that Naruto did use the Force along with his chakra abilities. Yoda's chuckle filled the chamber as Naruto tried to haggle his way out of his knighthood. Revan's gonna kill me. Elsewhere, Darth Sidious looked at the remains of his apprentice. Lord Maul is fallen. He muttered in disbelief. Impossible. No Jedi has the skills to fight him and win. Shaking the cowl-covered head, the Sith Lord moved away. Matters not, I have my next apprentice lined up, and there are several others I can use until he is ready. The Sith Lord walked away, content to let the Jedi believe that they have won. They won a battle, but the war is yet to come. Cruiser. Master? Kagan said as he sat with Yoda. The Namikaze were in their quarters, their ship was in the hangar, and Obi-Wan was asleep in their quarters, his former Padawan still in shock over the revelation that Padme was the queen and they had spoken to a double the whole time. The Namikaze weren't surprised. He thought. Something troubles you, my former student? Yoda said, looking away from the viewport. Several things. Kagan admitted. The boy, Anakin. Yoda nodded. Troubled am I how quickly he's been targeted. His mother's death no accident, I think. Shouldn't we take him in? He is strong in the Force. Tried we did, the Chancellor has refused, saying Anakin wanted nothing to do with us after we turned him away. Kagan flinched as he recalled Revan and Naruto both tried to talk to the boy, but he would walk away or the Chancellor would call him to help him with something. Uneasy you are about the Supreme Chancellor? Yoda asked. Kagan nodded. Something about him makes me uneasy. He feels. What else troubles you? Yoda said. They both knew not to speak of certain things outside the safety of the temple. There is no doubt. The mysterious warrior was a Sith. Kagan said as Mace joined them. Yoda nodded in thought. Always two there are, no more, no less. A master and an apprentice. Mace looked up, but which one was destroyed, the master or the apprentice? The three Jedi share a concerned look. Namikaze's quarters. Revan smiled as she lay on her back, the lights were dimmed. Naruto had a hand on her stomach and was whispering words to their child. Behind him she could see the stars thanks to the large viewport. "It's not that big yet, I'm only a couple weeks along," she said, and Naruto looked up and gave her a goof grin. "I take it you're pleased?" Revan said, a bit of nervousness in her voice. Naruto crawled up the bed to where he was hovering over her, resting on an elbow, his nose touching hers. "If we were in Konoha, I would be yelling it from the top of the Hokage monument." "If we were in Konoha, you'd paint it on the monument," Revan countered. "True." He kissed her. "Parents, are we ready for this?" he asked. "I am." Revan. For 1,000 years, and she wondered if she could get pregnant. Naruto smiled and kissed her again. "The question we should be asking is, the Jedi Temple ready for our children?" Revan laughed. It was a laugh Naruto knew well. She'd been his teacher, his friend, his partner, his lover, and then his wife. Now she was going to be mother to their children. "Honey, the galaxy isn't ready for our children." Naruto grinned. "Ninja Jedi. I like the thought of that." Revan pulled him into a kiss. Right now, despite the uncertainty of the future, currently all concerns were on hold as far as she was concerned. Episode 2. 10 years have passed. There is unrest in the Galactic Senate. Several hundred solar systems under the leadership of the rebel leader, Count Dooku, have declared their intentions to secede from the Republic. This separatist movement has made it difficult for the limited number of Jedi Knights to maintain peace and order in the galaxy. Senator Amidala, the former queen of Naboo, is returning to Coruscant to vote on the critical issue of creating an army to assist the overwhelmed Jedi. Chapter 33. This is a bad idea. Naruto grinned as he checked the controls. "You think everything is a bad idea. And I'm usually right. But making the Kessel Run is not my idea of safety." Obi-Wan Kenobi said, his beard didn't hide his grin. "Bah, you get to be right some of the time, and you think you're the greatest Jedi around." Naruto teased his friend. "Eager to be back home?" Obi-Wan asked. He stayed well away from the controls as this was Naruto's and Revan's ship. The last 10 years had seen a lot of upgrades, many of which Obi-Wan knew the Council wouldn't approve of. Revan snorted when he told her that. "I want to survive encounters, not be a statistic on the Council's shelf." Naruto chuckled. "Sorry if I seemed pushy to leave." Obi-Wan chuckled. "You miss your family is all." Naruto pulled out the heart-shaped pendant and thumbed the switch. It was a recording of pictures of his wife and 3 children. 3, Cammy, I thought she was going to kill me when the twins were born, but 2 years later along came our little princess. The twins were 10 and his little princess was 8. Naruto, of course, had sung his praises atop the Jedi Temple, much to the displeasure of many of the masters, and to the amusement of Master Yoda. Naruto smiled at his wife and his eyes took in the appearance of their children. "Cammy, was I ever that much of a handful? I owe Aji-san and Irika-sensei a huge apology." Naruto thought. All 3 of his children at the young age of 9 months used the Force. "I still think it was a riot when the twins levitated Uncle Ben. They are going to be a handful for whatever master takes them," Obi-Wan said with a rueful shake of his head. "Good thing I know you're up for it." Naruto said, his attention turning towards piloting the Falcon across the black hole that was the Maw. "Yes, I think. Wait, what?" Naruto laughed as Obi-Wan caught what he said and his mind rebooted. "Naruto, Rev and I talked about it. You're the only one we'd trust to work with the twins. You know they can't be separated." Obi-Wan nodded as he recalled previous attempts by the Council to separate the Namikaze twins, and it backfired in spectacular fashion. "Master Komanda is still jumping every time the twins run around the temple." Naruto nodded. "That was when they were 5. Heck, before I came on this mission with you, they had HK scattered around the living room. I thought Revan was going to kill them. Ben shuddered. HK had become the personal nanny/bodyguard to the children. He recalled one time one of the politicians had tried to pick up one of the children. -47 Hong Kong dollars MKII's assault had the poor politician cowering under his desk. He heard the Bothan was now living in solace and away from all things. You do know that Master Yoda laughs every time they do something. Obi-Wan shuddered. I never knew Master Yoda had such a twisted sense of humor. The Millennium Falcon jumped out of hyperspace. We're on final approach. Hey, isn't that a Naboo senatorial ship? Obi-Wan's head snapped around and Naruto fought not to laugh as Obi-Wan's eyes landed on the large craft on approach guarded by 2 N1 Naboo starfighters. You think your girlfriend is aboard? Naruto did laugh as Obi-Wan choked and snapped his head around to look at him. She is not my. Explain it to me, all those dinners every time the two of you are on the same world? Or that show she took you to last time she was here? We're just two friends. Obi-Wan said. You know, I used to be called dense when I was young. Do you want me to speak to her on your behalf? Please don't. Obi-Wan said. Naruto sighed. You need to make a move, Ben. Sooner or later someone's going to get close to her, and then you'll feel. Can we forego the lecture this time? Obi-Wan said. Naruto nodded as they followed the Naboo cruiser in. Send in our flight plan. We'll provide escort. Obi-Wan nodded. Coruscant Planetary Control, this is Millennium Falcon. We're inbound and providing cover for the Naboo senatorial ship. He transmitted the codes. You know how much trouble we could get in. Naruto shrugged. The followed and Naruto sent a message to the Naboo fighters flying escort. This is the Millennium Falcon to Naboo escort, mind if we join in? Millennium Falcon? A male voice came back. Is that you, Namikaze, sir? Naruto blinked and smiled as he recognized the voice. Typho? How's your father? A chuckle came back. He's hating retirement. Follow in, you can take the high seat. Copy that. Naruto maneuvered the Falcon with the same ease as his wife, granted she wouldn't have let him fly the ship unless she was certain of his flying abilities. As if picking up his thoughts, Obi-Wan chuckled. She treats the ship and your droids as her own children. Naruto nodded. He missed Bob, but the droid had been surrendered to be studied since the Trade Federation had pulled their droids from the market. They slipped through the traffic and Naruto looked at Obi-Wan. You feel that? The bearded Jedi Knight nodded. As they hovered as the Naboo ship landed and the fighters landed as well. Typho. Naruto said, hitting the send button. There's. He didn't get any further as an airspeeder launched a rocket at the lowered ramp where they could see the senator and her personal guard coming down. Padme. Obi-Wan yelled as the landing platform around the cruiser erupted. Naruto put the Falcon in hover and was right behind Obi-Wan as he lowered the ramp and leapt across to the Naboo platform. Naruto saw a pilot at the senator's side and saw her pull her flight helmet off and sighed in relief. Obi-Wan stopped steps away as Padme said farewell to her cousin, who had given her life to act as a decoy. Typho, get her to the Falcon. Naruto ordered as he scanned the area. Ben. He saw the relief in the other Jedi's eyes. Take the Falcon and the others to the temple. I'll deal with this. Obi-Wan looked about to argue, but he looked over to where Typho was escorting Padme up the ramp and nodded. Tell Revan. He said before the bearded Jedi was gone. Naruto scowled at how long it was taking the fire crews to respond. Stinks worse than a hut. He muttered. Jedi Temple. Obi-Wan sighed as he landed the ship. I hate flying. He thought and was glad when the landing struts connected with permacrete and he began powering the ship down. He headed to the back and saw Padme pulling herself together, and went to lower the ramp. He got to the bottom just in time to catch twin 10-year-olds. Uncle Ben. Anko and Haku yelled as he held them. You're getting too big for these girls. He groaned as he lowered them to the ground. Where's Daddy? Obi-Wan licked his lips. There was an incident. Where's your mother? He asked. With Kushina. Anko said. Obi-Wan shook his head as he saw Revan walking with Kushina at a slower pace. What did you do to my ship Kenobi? He held up a hand. Nothing. Your husband had me fly the short distance here from the Naboo landing pad. She nodded. It's on all the news nets. She said and paused. Padme. The senator from Naboo was coming down the ramp and stopped. Master Revan. The female Jedi Master walked forward and pulled the younger woman into a hug. Padme broke down. SHHH. Cord did her job in keeping you safe. Don't throw her sacrifice away. She looked at Typho. We'll inform the Senate she's safe. Padme wept for the loss of another person she knew. Revan passed her to Obi-Wan, who looked shocked as the senator buried her face into his robes. Anko, Haku, take Kushina to the practice room. You have lessons with Master Windu. But Mom. 3 voices complained. March. They left protesting. Revan shook her head at how similar her Anko was to the one they knew on Konoha. I think the Force is playing games with us. She thought. I will inform the council. Obi-Wan, take Padme and Typho to guest quarters. Obi-Wan was holding the senator, and he didn't notice how his arms tightened, or how she clung to him a bit tighter. Typho for his part looked anywhere but the pair, his smile hidden as he looked away. Naruto was tired when he got the message from Master Yoda to meet them at the Supreme Chancellor's office. He took a sky taxi and made his way to the office. He was exiting the lift when he came face to face with a person he'd barely seen in the last 10 years. Anakin. Namikaze. The 19-year-old looked at him and Naruto felt the anger in the youth. What has happened to you, Anakin? Why this rage at us? He thought as the two stared at one another. Chapter 34. Supreme Chancellor's Office. We are saddened to hear about the death of Senator Amidala. Palpatine said with a heavy heart. Dead she is not Chancellor. Yoda said. He was with Mace Windu. Her bodyguards and decoy died in the explosion, the senator is safe. How fortunate. Palpatine said, and Yoda and Mace shared a look. They heard voices and turned to see Anakin Skywalker enter, followed by Naruto. Ah, Anakin. Palpatine said. Are those the reports? Yes, Chancellor. Anakin said, putting them on the desk. Also, you have a meeting with the representative from. Ah yes, the Rigel delegate. The Chancellor said. I am happy to hear the senator from Naboo is safe. Would you give her my concerns? Yoda nodded. Inform her we shall. Good day, Chancellor. Naruto joined the Jedi Masters. Sorry I took so long. He said, falling in step with Yoda and Mace. I tried to find footage of the landing pad, but it seems all cameras in the area are down. The nearest one was a bad angle and too far away. Strange it is. Yoda agreed. There were no landing crew to be found. I've got Knight Tyler looking into it. Naruto said. Yoda nodded as they took the lift. Young Skywalker, hostile still. Naruto sighed and nodded. He believes that if Revan, and I would have been there, his mother would still be alive. Mace shook his head. There's more than that. His anger is burning hot as it was 10 years ago. Rev and I have kept an eye on him. He works for the Chancellor, and has been off-world many times performing errands. When he's on Coruscant he's the Supreme Chancellor's aide. Mace rubbed his chin. There's more, but the Force is clouded. Revan had all the reports on Shmi Skywalker's death sent to the temple. She's trying to find who did it, but her contacts are coming up with very little. Naruto knew Mace and many on the council didn't like Revan's contacts. Yoda had chuckled and Naruto heard him muttering about doing worse in his youth. Naruto relaxed as they took the shuttle to the temple. He just knew Revan was going to yell at him for letting Ben fly the Falcon. Rest, tomorrow new task the council will have for you, Yoda said as they left the shuttle. Naruto nodded. He wanted to spend the next several days with his wife and children, but he had a feeling the job would revolve around a certain senator, and he headed towards the rooms that had been given to him and his family. He was just in the doorway when he was impacted by a red-haired missile. "Daddy." He smiled as his arms went around his 8-year-old daughter. "Hello, little one." He kissed her forehead and turned to see his wife coming from the other room. The look of relief in her eyes was replaced by one of annoyance. "You let Ben fly my ship." "Our ship," Naruto said, and Revan's brow twitched. "Dear, did you bring me a present, Daddy?" Kushina asked. "Yes, I did. It's on the ship. I'll get it for you in the morning." She nodded and hugged her father. "Where are the twins?" he asked, hoping to stall his wife's temper. He saw her sigh. "They are with Master Fisto. Your darling children roped him into saber practice. I swear the masters are more childish at times than our children." Naruto grinned and rubbed noses with Kushina. "It's because we're awesome ninja Jedi. Aren't we, princess?" "Yes, Daddy," Kushina said with a giggle. Revan sighed. "You're lucky I love you, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." She moved in and he put an arm around her and Kushina put an arm around her mother's neck. Revan was at peace. "Now, tell Daddy he's not to let Uncle Ben fly Mommy's ship." Kushina repeated it and Naruto sighed. "Can't win with such beauties, can I?" "Nope," Revan said. "Nope," Kushina parroted. "All right, Sprague, go pick on HK," Naruto said as he put her down. She cheered and rushed off. "You did manage to put him back together again, didn't you?" Revan nodded. He was not happy and called them annoying little meatbags. Naruto chuckled. He loves them, simply because all the chaos they cause in their wake. Revan smiled as Naruto wrapped both arms around her and kissed her. For this moment, the galaxy could do without them. Lift. Obi-Wan was nervous. Next to him was Revan and Naruto. He'd arrived at the Namikaze to find them awake, and the children were with Shaak Ti. The Jedi Knight smiled as she loved working with the Namikaze children. "HK is here for security, and please don't let the children tell you they can take him apart." Now they were heading to the Naboo consulate. The senator had left early before third bell and Revan was planning on scolding the younger woman about her recklessness. "And you let her leave?" Revan said to Obi-Wan. "I couldn't very well keep her against her will." The bearded Jedi protested. Revan always made him feel like a youngling at the temple when she scolded him. Naruto yawned and sighed. "Ben, there are times where I swear you're more clueless than I am." Revan was tapping her foot as the lift climbed the building. Once the doors opened, she stormed out, and was met by Captain Typho. "Lady Namikaze," he said, and he saw her eyes and winced. I know. Where is she?" Revan said, cutting him off. She reached out with the force and headed for a pair of doors. "Lady Revan." Naruto shook his head. "Safer to stay back, Captain," he warned the younger man. "You'll reach retirement age that way." Revan opened the double doors and heard her start scolding Padme. He shot a glance at Ben. "Looking at your girlfriend in her nightie?" Obi-Wan blushed and turned away, and was speaking rapidly with Typho about the security of the building. Naruto looked towards another office, and saw a couple other guards, and he frowned seeing a gun gone. This one looked familiar, and he mentally groaned. "Naru. Jar Jar. The Gungan had been at the palace several times as an envoy between the Gungans and the Naboo. For some reason the creature kept trying to be his friend, despite the first time he met him Naruto hit him with a low-powered Rasengan. "Messa happy to sees yous," Jar Jar said, stumbling over his own feet to greet Naruto with a hug. "What are you doing here?" Naruto after the Gungan released him. "Isabn helpin' Padme," Jar Jar said excitedly. He looked over his shoulder to see Obi-Wan looking away with a smirk. "You knew he was here." "Oh, Ben, you are so dead," Naruto thought as he got to speak with the Gungan. 10 minutes later Revan rejoined them with a flustered-looking Padme who was dressed in her senatorial robes. "Master Naruto," she said in greeting. "Thank you for your aid yesterday, Now, Padme. You know better to use titles with me." She smiled and nodded. Her eyes went to Obi-Wan. Neither said a word, but the Namikaze saw underneath and after a shared look, and eye-roll Revan spoke up. "Since you left the Jedi Temple in the middle of the night, we are here to provide security for you." "That's nonsense. I'm sure there are other matters that require your attention." Naruto snorted. "No political wordplays either, young lady." Typho coughed. "I'll show you the security room." Naruto nodded and left with him. "You'd think after 10 years they would sort it out," Typho said in a joking manner. Naruto looked at the captain. "Panika talks too much," Naruto said. "He's retired, what do you expect him to develop a hobby?" Naruto said. "He's worried about her. He keeps his eyes open and an open comlink just in case," Typho said. "So, any clue who would take a pot shot at the senator?" "There is a list. Newt Gunray for one, but the one that's topped the list is a man called Dooku." Naruto stopped and looked at the captain of Padme's security. "Count Dooku?" Typho nodded. "You know him?" "Yes. He's a former Jedi. He left the Order about 8 years ago." Naruto and Revan didn't like the man. The other Jedi swore up and down about him. Ben said he was Qui-Gon's master. But the man had issues and Revan said she got that hair on the back of her neck feeling about him whenever he would visit to see the Namikaze children. Revan had ordered HK to shoot the man if he tried anything. Yoda had listened to both Revan and Naruto's feelings, and spoke with Dooku himself to keep his distance. Soon after he left the temple, and that was the last they heard of him. Funny thing is the Chancellor's office sent a report that it was pirates from one of the moons in the Naboo system. Typho shook his head. "We've cleared most of them out. Thanks to Lady Revan we managed to salvage the droids left behind and turn them into a defensive force. Of course, they had been repainted and a few more features added. The control was deep in the palace. Rev loves to tinker. I think she spent a century as a droid dealer," Naruto admitted. Typho always gave the Namikaze queer looks when they spoke of being older than they looked. For the next 20 minutes Naruto looked at the systems. He left Typho to find Revan and smiled. "Where are Ben and Padme?" Revan gestured to the side room where the pair were talking while playing holochess. "How boring," Naruto muttered as he held his wife from behind. "I remember many nights spent teaching you to play several games," she said, leaning against him. She turned and kissed his jaw. "And you didn't complain then?" Naruto snorted. "Complain when losing to such a beautiful woman?" "I was dense, I wasn't dead." Revan smiled. "Give them time. It's been 10 years. Naruto whined. She smiled. Obi-Wan was raised in the temple. It's a slow change. Besides, she likes him. Did she tell you that? Naruto asked. Not in as many words. Feel, she said, and Naruto closed his eyes and listened to the Force. He opened his eyes and smiled. No teasing them. Revan said. Naruto pouted. I'm gonna call the temple. Check on the girls. He said. I'll come with you. Poor Shakti is probably at the end of her patience. They are our children. Naruto said. Mistress. HK answered the call. Are you and Master returning soon? The Namikaze swore they heard an edge of desperation in the assassin droid's voice processor. Not yet, HK. Is Night Tea there? Revan asked. Negative, mistress. The spineless meat sack was summoned to the council. HK responded. But the tadpole is present and is occupying the little Mon's children. Revan sighed. Master Yoda? Affirmative, mistress. HK remained quiet. Would you let him know I'd like to speak with him then? Of course, mistress. She heard HK leaving the communications device and heard him muttering about the degradation of going from the greatest assassination droid in the galaxy to wet nurse. She didn't catch the rest of it, but she hoped he didn't use that language around the children. Mommy. 3 voices chorused, and she smiled. Hello, my little angels. I thought Master Yoda was watching you. Watching I am. A voice said, and Revan could only imagine the aged master with her 3 little Hellraisers. I am sorry, Master, I had thought Night Tea had no duties at present. Revan said. Mission required, the council sent her along with several others to follow a lead to the attacks on senators. Revan cursed. Is there anything else I should know, Master? Children are fine, safe will I keep them. Yoda said. Revan smiled. But who will keep you safe, Master? Naruto smiled, hearing the chuckle from Yoda. 900 years have I raised Jedi, fine we shall be, worry not. Revan thanked him, and with Naruto spoke to the children for a while. Naruto promised to bring them each something when they were done with their mission. And remember, you 3, don't slack off on your training. I left a scroll for Shakti to oversee, but Master Yoda can do it as well. He said. Dad. Anko's voice came over. Yes? Isn't Padme okay? She was upset the other night and Mom wouldn't let us visit. The parents exchanged a look. She's fine, Anko. She lost her cousin, that is why she is upset. Will you be back soon? Haku asked. As soon as we can. Revan said. Can we come with? Kushina asked. No, the parents said at the same time. Anko and Haku would be given to a master soon, and they knew Obi-Wan was going to have his hands full then. Kushina thankfully had a couple more years before they had to worry about her being out in the galaxy. Now, remember, brush your teeth before bed and listen to Master Yoda. Revan said. Will. 3 voices chorused. Master. May the Force be with you. Yoda said, and the comlink shut down. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.